Remember last week a video of a 22-year-old nanny physically abusing a baby in Uganda surfaced online. After only 26 days on the job, Jolly Tumuriwe was caught on camera beating 18-month-old Arnella Eric Kamanzi. Now the question is, should parents pay for childcare, or should the babies be sent to daycare centers? Or better still, should mothers be stay-at-home moms until the children are old enough to start school? All these and more on the program today. But first, let's take a look at this.
Finally, the Ugandan housemaid caught on video maltreating a toddler is now in police detention. The home surveillance video footage showed the housemaid forcefully feeding the girl who was unable to take in much. Then the baby threw up, which seems to spark fury from the 22-year-old nanny. Her family said the girl was alive but really traumatized.
Father of the abused child installed the camera in the house after he noticed his daughter limping and with bruises too on her body. The disturbing video has been widely shared on the internet, provoking horror and upset the world over.
I've not been able to even get over what I just seen now, and obviously I've seen it online. It's quite horrifying. It was like, what is this? I was like shocked. I couldn't just imagine it. What could this girl have done? Is this person stable? Obviously, the first thing is this person is not mentally stable. And that's why I keep on wondering how we take the risk as mothers, really, to just leave our children with people we don't know so well. What we need to think about it, and I think this is a wake-up call to everybody. We need to take action. We need to think twice and be sure we are leaving our children in a good care.
But is this problem only just surfacing because of the introduction of modern technology, or has it always been there?
To some extent. I think most times the mothers would always need to put the baby somewhere. And maybe like in the past, we had like family support, maybe like the mother-in-law or the mother, somebody would be around. And because of the nature of development, every woman out there is supporting the family, has to get to work one way or the other, and then the issue of childcare comes in. What do we do? And the first thing is, it's so convenient to have somebody at home because you just rush in and you rush back and you come to meet your baby. And that's why the first thought most times is, okay, let me just get a nanny to take care of this child when you can afford it. And then some obviously have the option of taking the child to the crèche or the daycare or somewhere. So when you look at the situation, it's like, oh, this can't go on. We have to sit back, we have to do something about it. Even if we have to work, we have to put checks in place. And that takes me to the issue of where do we get these girls from? What do we know about them? We should take our time before taking the bold step. If you cannot get your baby to be around you, maybe you have the kind of work where you can have your baby around, or you don't want to put a baby in a crèche where so many eyes are there, and you have to bring a nanny home. We now have to take the proper steps, and that starts with what kind of outfit are we using to engage these helps? Are they registered? What kind of checks do they have in place?
How practical is it? Will it be demanding too much from the African economy? Should we begin to pay African moms so that they can stay longer with their children? Are we calling for an extension of the maternity leave for moms? What are your thoughts on that?
Globally, when we look at the UK, when we look at the US, the government do support childcare. And that has really helped the mothers to some extent. They are more relaxed. They're able to have the babies up to like 2 years thereabout before they start full-time work. But when we look at Africa, we look at Nigeria to be precise. I think it's a growing economy. We have so many issues saddled with, and I don't know how much support government can put in place for mothers. Yes, the life of a child is very important, and a government that does invest in the child is actually investing in the future of that country. And I think it is not too much, but I must be realistic, especially in Nigeria. We have so many issues, infrastructure, there's no water, electricity, housing, so many
So is it realistic to pay moms?
It is not realistic
for longer maternity leaves
in Nigeria. But we have the support of government in some areas. For example, in Lagos State, the governor was able to extend the maternity leave for mothers, mainly the civil servants, and we think a lot of private sector workers are actually adopting it, where they can have 6 months maternity leave and spend more time with the baby before getting back to work. So policies like that, support here and there, even like there's also the advocacy to actually have a crèche in places of work, a lot of support for mothers like that, then they'll be able to stay more, have more time to spend with their babies. But
So,
it's not so realistic to have.
When we're saying more time, how much more time is realistic within the context of an African economy?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's quite difficult for us in
Will it be
Africa, I must
6 months?
say. 6
Will it
months,
be 1
fine.
year?
Because I know 1 year, it's not so realistic for us in a country like Africa.
And at that stage, the children are still very vulnerable.
Young, very vulnerable, and they need to be kept somewhere with someone. So I think we just need to look for the support that we can put in place. And that starts with, who are we going to leave this baby with? If the best thing is to take the baby to a crèche, then take the baby to a crèche where you're sure it's a well-established place, you're sure of the environment and everybody there, and your mind is at rest. Or maybe they have a crèche, your place of work, fine. Or like we have seen now, there's nothing bad in also having a camera in the house to watch them at every point in time. Most of the communication companies have such things in place. But although I also heard they need power to support most of these cameras, which, well, I think one would always work out that.
Some have said that, especially within in Nigeria here, that domestic staff are a necessary evil and you can't do without them. Now, if you can't do without them, what are those things that we should watch out for when hiring domestic staff?
Yeah, that takes me back to what I was trying to say. Where do we get them from? I think like it's a wake-up call to all of us, and I know a lot of mothers are going to learn from this experience now. Firstly, you have to make sure you're getting the help from a good background. Like if you're going to use a recruitment agency, what kind of agency is it? Are they well established? They need to look at the physical health of that child, of the nanny, of the person you're bringing in. For example, even some we've heard of cases of infection of HIV/AIDS. They come with other things. What we have in place is one agent just brings somebody and you put the person in your house. They need to check the physical health. They need to check the mental health. It is obvious, Jolie, I think, is obviously mentally not stable. From what I saw there, for you to stand and step on the child, to kick the child, each time was like I kept on moving.
No, but
like,
indeed,
it
has emerged that Jolie was mentally stable. She was okay. When the father discovered what happened, when he watched the video and saw that his daughter was being maltreated, he responded the same way. And the girl said it was because she was maltreated herself. We're going to get to that. We want to establish that she was mentally stable.
Okay, let's put that aside. But then we also need to look at the criminal record. Like for example, in the UK, we have what we call the CRB, where you like Criminal Record Bureau, where you need to do checks before you have to work with any child. You need to be sure they need to do checks on you. But in Nigeria, we don't have anything like that. But good enough, I was at an event in the Lagos House yesterday where the governor had put in a new policy, sort of where like it's a mandatory, is a report. It's a mandatory report for any abuse, so that before you recruit anybody, especially in like in schools and the homes, you could go to the bureau. You can go there and do a check on the person before you engage the person. Then we should also go as far as when we bring them in, be vigilant. Because I must tell you, Jolie must have been showing some traits, one way or the other, of not being a good person. Then we also have to be prayerful. Well,
but how do you know? I've had a domestic staff before, and you never can tell what their true character is until they're with you for about 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
how do you overcome that challenge?
That's what I'm trying to say. We need to be vigilant. We need to be prayerful, and then we also need to show love. I must tell you, because she mentioned things like my madam used to shout at me, used to say I steal the milk or something. Even after showing love, they could still come up to be bad. But I think it goes a long way. The more love we show, that would overcome whatever behavior they may want to put in place later. They may want to bring up later. So I want to believe we should try and show much love, be prayerful, be vigilant, and also do the necessary checks.
Perhaps you want to respond to any of them, Lola?
Yeah, I looked at what the point she was trying to make. The girl could have been maltreated, but I want to believe if you have love in your heart, there is no way you go to the extent that Jolie went. It was so much. It's as if we've never seen it before. A less than 2-year-old child, after I had a slap once, like so much sound. I was like, this is too much, kicking and like standing on the child. It's only God
and Jolie, from what we see in the video, is an adult. She had the choice to resign if she wasn't given food, if she was ill-treated for that long.
Could even harm that child, like the child could have died. But so why would you go to that extent?
Let me come to that. That in itself could be risky, if she is relieved of her responsibilities. Because earlier this year, a maid in Rwanda killed a child because he was asked to leave for behaving badly. So how best can you handle situations like that? Do you ask them to leave? And if you're telling them to leave, how best do you handle such a situation?
I want to believe if you need to take like the girl, the words to nanny to leave, the person has to leave. At that point, you have noticed the child is not safe and you're not comfortable. Any little time you give again could even cost something else. You don't need to hesitate and say, well, I don't want the nanny to take a negative action. You need to take action at that point. And
but that wasn't happened in the case of this.
Well, I know there are many cases. There are so many unreported cases, which is like, this is just one of those we're getting to hear about. And it's like, I think God just wanted us to actually be more careful when it comes to who we leave our children with.
Two things have emerged. You talked about the need to show this domestic staff love. Now, I also know that there are times when you show them love, but then they also turn out to be what they really are. They end up maltreating your children. So moms, parents are in a dilemma. What do they do in such cases?
Like you
How, where do you draw the line between showing them love and then disciplining them? There was a time on one of the shows on TVC where they talked about disciplining domestic staff. Is it right or wrong? So these two issues, I want you to respond to them.
Yeah, the domestic staff most times are like, they should be like your child. And you would, to some extent, knowing very well you're going to leave your children with them, you need to show them so much love and care. And then when you keep on doing that and you can see, because we have people, some people are good, some people are bad, and it's just like that. I know a lot of people who tell you I've had help for like 10 years, 20 years, and they're so good, and some are like, oh, this one is like very dangerous to keep around. I have to send her away for this reason, for that reason. So we need to be tolerant, we need to show love, but when we see signs of danger, we should not hesitate to tell them to leave. I must tell you,
But you know, these things are a build-up. When they begin to err, is it in your place to discipline them or to send them away immediately?
We should watch our actions. We shouldn't go too far. For example, when
That's the point. What is too far?
Yes, too far was what the father did. Because we're in the week of the elimination of violence against women and girls, and he could have really been charged, even for murder. What if he was trying to take action and then Jolly died in the process? We wouldn't even be talking. We wouldn't be saying what we're saying. He would have been in trouble. So we should watch. I've also heard cases of reports, even we hear locally in Nigeria, where some helps come in and they do terrible things, and then the madam or whoever like really hits them badly or something, and they are the one that would now be charged to court for murder or for whatever case. We should watch the way we act. After maybe like trying to draw them near, show much love, and caution them from time to time, and it's keep on repeating the same thing. Instead of taking laws into your hand and taking action that could even lead to something else, release them and try somebody else.
You send them away.
Yes.
Now, let's look at the age range of this domestic staff. You know, from what we saw in the video there, Jolie appears to be an adult.
Yeah.
You know, so there's an extent to how you can discipline Jolie. But using Nigeria as a case study perhaps now, the more available domestic staff for employment are those within, you know, the ages of perhaps 15 and 18. And then you also need to be wary of child trafficking laws before you're arrested and caught for employing an underage to work for you. You understand these issues. So what do you do? Do you employ a younger staff that is below 18? And how do you avoid not going too far, as you say, in disciplining them?
In Nigeria, for example, there is a law in place that we are not supposed to even engage any child under 18 to be a domestic help in the house.
But we know that these things happen.
Yeah.
Parents are violating.
Why we need to be very careful, because most of them are that age, they're obviously not matured. It's like a child caring for a child, and they do a lot of things that are not actually right. Some even like trying to leave a baby for another age child and like maybe even give something that could even like not really intentional poison, but then she's not even sure what kind of care she's giving to the baby. So we should make sure we don't, the law is there in Nigeria, we just don't follow it, and I think there's a wake-up call to do what is right. No underage child, under 18, should be allowed should be brought into the home to care for a baby.
The difference in psychological makeup of children and how they respond to nannies. Perhaps you want to also...
Yeah, that's why maturity, that's where maturity comes in, and that's why a child of lower than 18 should not be the one caring for the child. Because to care for a child, it takes a lot. Obviously, we could see she was like trying to frustrate Jolie. No, not really frustrate. She didn't want to eat. And the next was like slap and slap. And it's like, one way or the other she was irritated, she threw up again. And the next thing is heating and heating.
beating.
So if it was a very matured person, she would be patient.
But she appeared to be mature.
No. Well,
Jolie.
she had some other issues. I think that's just the situation. A good nanny, a matured lady, competent to handle a child, would not act like that. It's like maybe, okay, sorry, and then try to pet the child, and then see how to play around with the child, make the child more relaxed, such that the child will not be able to respond and then eat and be happy with her. But from everything we saw there, obviously, I think the issue of training should also come in. We should not just pick somebody that has never handled a child or does not have the patience to even handle a child and just bring anybody and believe anybody should be able to care for a child. We should be able to look at such things even before engaging them. That's why we use proper agencies who, apart from even their physical and mental health or what a criminal record, should also look at even their temperament. Can they actually handle a child? Are they patient enough?
For nannies who come from agencies and for those, you know, who we recruit, let's say from the open market, the common thread is the character. So what are the chances of getting a good nanny from an agency as against recruiting them from the open market?
I think that's where the government will come in now. We need to regulate the activities of the agencies. Like, for example, in Nigeria, they're just there, nobody controls them. The Ministry of Women Affairs has a role to play. And just like we have the registered schools, if we have, when it comes to childcare, and there are recruitment agencies in charge of recruitment of nannies, then they should be regulated as well, which means they should be registered. And the good thing now is with the like there was the reports, what the governor did yesterday was like any crime is mandatory to report it. Whether you settle it at home, maybe somebody abused your child at home or elsewhere, it must be reported. There's a record, there's a register now that has been opened, which there must be a report for every, so they can have data, they can have records, somebody can go there and make a reference. So when these agencies are put on check, which means they should operate properly, whoever you're bringing in must be trained. Whoever you're bringing in must be checked. Have you checked the record of the person? Then they go as far as even, like we said, the physical health, because we've had cases of infection of HIV. We've had a lot of things to have been sexually abusing the babies, the children in the house.
And
So
let's not leave out cases of domestic staff themselves making themselves open to sexual advances of people within the community.
Exactly. That's why the government should regulate their activities, and I think that will bring a little bit of sanity into it. When that is in place, then they are more organized, and when you need to get somebody, you know where to go. You go to the registered ones, and you make sure they're doing a thorough job there. And then if there's any issue, you can easily report to them. There's a record, there's data, and it doesn't happen to another person, because they do funny things, they move from one home to the other, assaulting and doing all kind of crimes and all sorts there. So I think it's the time for government to take action in that area now and monitor agents.
Okay, let me come to this. Even after securing the services of these nannies from maybe a recruitment agency, one would find out that over time, some of them might actually change. So what other measures can be put in place to check and to forestall another hashtag Ugandan Nanny from
The issue,
occurring?
we just need to be vigilant, because human beings change, like you have said. Maybe after the help gets comfortable in the home, the second madam in the house, in quote, and she just feels she's in a very comfortable place, she's okay financially now after accumulating a lot of money, and starts all sort of behavior. We have a choice, and the choice, like I keep on saying, is to make sure we take action at the right time. You don't need to wait till things get so bad. You don't need to wait till something happens to the child. You need to take action at that point in time. And obviously, you're going to get somebody else. Whatever you have noticed in the first one, whatever mistake you have made, make sure you correct it before you get another one, so that you don't keep on repeating it.
Between nannies or daycare center, which do you think is best for the development of a child?
Personally, that's my personal view. I would feel comfortable with a daycare center. And good enough, some are so well established now. They're regulated, they're registered. And then you have some even have like a shuttle bus that can pick the child for you and drop the child off. And then you can see the environment, you can see most of them are trained, you can see the love is there, you can see, it's just like a home away from home. Most of the crèches are good ones. So for a mother like me, I would opt for the daycare center, because I believe the child cannot be easily abused compared to when you leave that child with just one person who can react and respond in whatever way, in whatever mood she finds herself. Even that, for example, when you're taking care of children, do take a lot out of you. You need to be patient. When you're tired or the child is stressing you, another nanny picks the child up. They are there to support themselves with that child, even if the child is like giving them so much stress. Compared to the house where like maybe the nanny is saddled with the baby from morning till night and is like getting on her nerves and like, I just deal with you anyhow.
Now, the crashes seem to be a better option. But again, what about moms who rise early and close late? They arrive 10 p.m., 11 p.m.
That's why I gave the option of
who picks the child?
Some work out the kind of shuttle bus where they can come in so early, pick the baby.
Who collects the child at home?
They take the baby back home. The boss does the same too.
So who stays with the baby at home when the father hasn't arrived?
It's
a difficult situation.
It's not so. What people do, what modern women do these days, they will still have some of these nannies around, but they don't leave the babies with them 24 hours, like throughout the day. They'll probably let the baby go to the daycare, and then probably by the time they come back.
Now that's extra cost. You're
yes,
paying for the daycare center.
For the life of your child.
You're also paying the nanny.
It's the only, because it's safer. And I can tell you, a lot of women have more. They are at peace like that. I've not left this baby all day, since maybe like the bankers, we have to like 6 a.m. and come back like 9. Maybe the baby was just brought in about 9, about 6, 7. So like even the nanny too won't be so stressed. So by the time the baby is like, oh, she's even eager to do whatever she has to do with the baby. And then I know a lot of mothers these days. I have even some family friends like that. I would like, please don't worry, just bring your child to my place, or I can always come over. They work out something, because it is obviously not the best to leave a child with a nanny all day. Where we have to look at other options, I think we have better options.
Now, I have a particular concern before I would touch down on trends today. What about for families who do not necessarily like a third party at home? What is your word for husbands in assisting with childcare at home? We know that not very many husbands are domesticated.
I was expecting that from you.
Yes.
I think I could see how a baby's father reacted. You could see he had so much love for the child, and that shows. Well, I'm sure he wouldn't mind. He won't leave in his work.
I'm not talking about the reaction now. I'm talking about when the child poops. The mom is cooking in the kitchen.
That's where I'm going to. That's where I'm going to.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, the
like,
house filled with toddlers is usually in disarray. The floor is not swept.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to. You could see the father would like, I wouldn't mind doing all this instead of having this beast in my house. Do you understand? I don't mind carrying this baby along with wherever I go.
But so how many fathers don't mind?
It is a wake-up call for everybody. By the time you have an experience, nobody will tell you, do you want to lose your child? Do you know how much or what it is? Sticking together a child. So obviously a lot of men out there should know. Make the choice. Do you want to keep your child with somebody you're not sure of, or you rather support your wife? Maybe you come in earlier, or she comes in earlier, or maybe, of course, during the weekends, instead of saying I must have somebody help in the house, don't worry, we can do it together. I think fathers should take up the role, even from that's what, and like I said, the good thing in Lagos State, when they were extending the maternity leave, they also get paternity leave
2 weeks
to show how important, how
but
important
that's
the role of the
not
father
far-reaching. It's just for fathers in the civil service.
Yeah.
Anyways, your last word. What's the best way for childcare as a childcare expert?
I think the life of the child is very important. We know what it takes to bring a child to life, and for that reason, we should not compromise whatever care we are sure is going to give us peace of mind. And by this experience we have now, we know if we have to bring in a nanny, we must do proper checks and be sure we have a competent person. And if a camera has to be put there, I think we should go for it.
Stand up, we can go the day.